was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today, my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-936-5496.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-936-5496.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Today and tomorrow, the area will remain under the influence of high pressure ridge, keeping temperatures hot in the mid-90s. Winds will be light from the south today at 5 to 15 miles per hour, turning east-southeast tomorrow. Tonight's lows will be in the low to mid-60s, and tomorrow evening, high pressure ridge will begin to flatten. Some showers and storms are expected in the evening and overnight as a cold front passes through. Lows will be in the lower 60s. This weekend, disturbances from the Rockies will move into the area, bringing cooler temperatures and chances for evening and overnight showers and storms. Highs will be in the 80 to 85 degree range, and lows will drop into the mid to upper 50s. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, a significant change in the weather is expected. A combination of upsloping flow and cold air sinking south out of Canada will bring cloudy, rainy, and chilly conditions, with highs in the 70s and lows in the 50 to 55 degree range. This is meteorologist Chris Romick at the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Hi, this is Kaylee with Colby Furniture, inviting you to come see us this Friday and Saturday for our Sunflower Festival Inventory Blowout Sale at 1175 South Range Avenue. Enjoy 10% off all furniture, 30 to 50% off inventory blowout items, and big savings on Tempur-Pedic, Stearns & Foster, and Sealy mattress sets. When you are done shopping with us, go check out all the sidewalk booths and activities at the Sunflower Festival in downtown Colby.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities, contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Summer's ending, school's here, and Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland has the trucks to keep you moving. A 2025 Sierra 3500 Pro, $1,000 purchase allowance or 3.9% for 48 months. A 3500 Denali, $2,000 purchase allowance or 3.9%. Or Sierra 1500 over a $6,000 purchase allowance or 0% APR for 36 months. Make this school year the smoothest ride yet. Visit Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, or shop online anytime at hurlchev.com.
Labor Day weekend is a time for barbecues, one last splash in the pool, and a good time with friends. But designate a driver before you party. It can be the difference between good memories made or horrific ones. This is a message from the Kansas Department of Transportation.
Summer is heating up, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby has everything you need to make the most of it. Tame that lawn with top-notch weed and feed from Ultimate Fertilizer, and keep those bugs away with powerful pesticides. Plus, Ego mower blowers and trimmers to get that job done fast. Fire up some summer flavor with a Traeger grill or a Blackstone griddle, and if you're building a fence or even fixing a sprinkler, they've got the building materials and supplies to keep your projects moving. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, your summer project headquarters.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
There is a benefit to building a team and keeping it together for the length of time, but that does not happen anymore because of the portal and NIL and money.
The High Plains only local sports talk show.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
Broadcasting live on Rocket 102.5 and streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than that? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps.
Lego Thorson in the corner for 3.
Good! To the pros.
The 1-0 pitch. Fermin drives it into left center field. Game over. Freddie Fermin wins the marathon for the Royals.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, along with the Insurance Agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work. Good start. Drive by Goodman to deep right center field. They won't catch up to it. It one-hops the wall. It gets away from Pajes. It'll score 2. Hunter Goodman with his 3rd hit of the night. Line drive, base hit, left center field. That's going to roll. In to score is Casey. Swanson on his heels. Here comes Shaw. Michael Bush. A bases clearing double. The Cubs score 3. And they lead it 3-1. That one is to right, and it is past the right fielder, diving Layfield. One is in. Here comes the winning run. Andrew Bogan does it. South Carolina shocks South Dakota, and they win it 7-6.
Boy, anybody happen to see what happened in that game of the Little League World Series yesterday? I mean, I admit I don't watch a ton of the Little League World Series. I don't, but boy, that was crazy to see how that game wrapped up. It was South Carolina and South Dakota, and South Carolina was down 6-1 with 3 outs left in that ball game, and they come back and beat South Dakota 7-6, and they only used up one of those 3 outs. I mean, that is a heck of a comeback, and you talk about a very shocking defeat there for South Dakota in what was an elimination game. So you lose, you go home, you win, you're moving on, and South Dakota and South Carolina duking it out, and South Carolina down by 5 runs scores 6 in the bottom of the 7th, or in the 7th, bottom of the 7th, come back and win. I mean, 3 outs away, and you can't get them if you're South Dakota, and that's tough. That is very, very tough. But hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. It's August the 21st, and a beautiful start to the day. Sunny and 64 on our way to a high of 90 degrees here on the High Plains on this Thursday. Just another day of some pretty hot weather, I would say. Looking at the forecast ahead, temperature's looks to be 90 today, 90 tomorrow, and then Saturday weekend and into next week. Temperatures anywhere from the upper 70s, low 80s, all the way down to an unbelievable 64 early on beginning next week. And lots of rain opportunities. My goodness, from what it looks like, anywhere from 35 to 55. So you always want to cut that in half. So you know what, maybe a 15 to 25% chance of rain coming our way here over the next handful of days. But yeah, cooler temperatures on the horizon after today and tomorrow. But once again, thanks again for tuning in. If you have thoughts, comments, opinions, questions, please put them on the F&B Bank text line at 785-899-2222. You can also hit us up in the comment section on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream if you'd like to do that as well. Today's show, we got a full program ahead for you today. We will be talking about the big news yesterday. I tell you, there's a lot of movement in the NFL with trades, and 2 of those 3 trades in particular involved Denver and Kansas City. We'll get to that coming up here in segment number 3. The play-by-play radio voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, Brian Haney, going to join us in our second segment to preview the upcoming football season for the Kansas Jayhawks. Look forward to visiting with Brian in segment number 2. And then, of course, we will get the show going here in just a matter of moments, discussing some football. Once again, it was 2 days ago on Tuesday, we discussed K-State's schedule and ranking it from toughest to easiest games on their 12-game schedule. Today, we'll do that for Kansas. So if you're a Kansas football fan or a KU fan, today's show is going to be your type of show. So, yes, lots to get to in today's program. Real quickly, on the Rockies and the Royals. Royals saw their 5-game win streak snapped last night. They fell to the Rangers by a final of 6-3 in a tough game there. Looked like they had a chance to get it won, but kind of blew it late as the Rangers rallied back for their first win against Kansas City this season. And the Rockies, they get another win. They took care of Shohei Ohtani. They won 8-3. They put up 5 hits off of Ohtani and really got things going. Had 16 hits in the game. Very, very good contest for the Rockies. And Hunter Goodman had another big-time game, which had, I think, 3 RBIs in the contest. So, yeah, Colorado has now won 7 of 9 and have snapped a stretch of 11 losses in 12 games against the Dodgers. So they have gotten a win against LA, and they'll actually try and win the series against the Dodgers today on KLOE. Both the Royals and the Rockies will be playing early today. These are both 1:10 Mountain and 1:10 Central Time. First pitches on AM 790 KXXX and AM 730 KLOE. So quick update there in baseball. All right, let's get rolling. Let's get rolling with our topic of the day, and that is once again ranking Kansas football's schedule based upon toughest to most to easiest. We did this once again yesterday, or 2 days ago on Tuesday with Kansas State. And so I want to start once again going from the hardest games down to the easiest. Overall, when you look at the Kansas football schedule, when you look at it, just an overall thought, it is a manageable schedule. I think that's why you see a lot of the national pundits look at it and be like, there could be a chance if Kansas can actually put it together that they have a shot of being one of the higher win total teams in the Big 12. I know there was a graphic that came out by this computer-generated deal that we talked about back during Fair Week about, Kansas football actually had a chance to have the most wins. I think it was like 8.5 or 8.6, and then Kansas State was like 8.5, and Texas Tech was like 8.5. But Kansas had the chance that projected to have possibly the most wins by this computer simulation. And you can see why, because the schedule is very manageable, at least as it looks right now on paper from what we know, which every year, particularly in the last handful of years, that seems to change because of all types of different factors. Sometimes teams we thought were really bad are really good. Sometimes we think teams that are really good actually aren't that good. Example, last year, Oklahoma State thought was good. They were horrific. Thought Arizona State was going to be terrible. They win the whole thing. So just like that. From what we know this year, the schedule is manageable for KU, and they've got a really good shot at getting off to a good start. And if they can get off to this good start, that sets up for being a really, really good schedule. So diving in with my easiest game, or number 12 in this rankings, it's Wagner. I mean, come on, right? Not much to do on this. It is the easiest game. It's a bye game. By golly, you better win this game. If you're Kansas, you're actually spending money to have them come and play you. By God, you better win it. It's that kind of game. So no doubt Wagner going to be, I think, the easiest game on the schedule. The next easiest game is the one coming up here on Saturday, I believe. That'll be at number 11. That'll be Fresno State. They have a new head football coach, Matt Enos. If you don't remember who he was, well, last year he was at USC as a linebacker coach. But prior to that year, 2 years ago, he was leading one of the most successful FCS programs in history, North Dakota State, the Bison. He was the head coach there where he went 60-11 at NDSU. This guy knows how to coach. He took over a really good program that was started by Craig Bull and then handed off to Chris Kleiman and then to Coach Enos. These guys know how to coach. They're good coaches. But it is year number 1. They are making a massive change going from what was kind of a spread passing attack last year, more throwing than they were running, to probably more of lining up and trying to smash it in your face. That's what they believe in. That's what they believe in North Dakota, and that's what they're going to more than likely try and do at Fresno State over the course of time. But that takes a very big shift in philosophy. That takes some different players. I don't think they have a lot of those guys, but they're really going to try to attack that front four of Kansas, as I would expect here on Saturday. And we will see how it ends up going for them. Once again, in conversation with some people, an underrated spot for Kansas this year could be the defensive line. They will get tested right out of the gate. But I think Fresno State is the second easiest game behind Wagner here coming up in the 2025 season. After that, West Virginia coming in there at the third easiest game on the schedule, number 10. It's at the booth, so they get it at home. It's early in the season, and West Virginia is in a rebuilding year. They are starting over again. They went away from Neil Brown. They are headed in. Now they're going to go and they bring back Rich Rod, who did have that program in a great spot before he left, I think, to go to Michigan is where he went. And he is he's very good at coaching mobile quarterbacks and getting great rushing attacks out of that. I just don't know how good they're going to be. I think it's the fourth game of the season. I have to check that out here on my schedule here, but I think it's the fourth game of the season that they're going to have that game. And I just feel once again, you're catching them kind of at the right time, because if you caught them later in the year, they might be kind of hitting their stride. Yes, it is the fourth game. So there's 3 games, a bye, and then West Virginia after the bye. So they'll be rested. They'll be ready to go. They're at home. I just feel like they're going to be retooling a lot of things for West Virginia. They're not going to have everything figured out. They could possibly have a good game. But I feel like it's still going to be the third easiest game on the schedule this year for Kansas at this point in time. At number 9, or the fourth easiest game for the Kansas football schedule, ranking them from hardest to easiest, I'm going with Central Florida again. They're both on the schedule for both Kansas and K-State. So I go back to my same points I had before. You're catching them once again about midway through the season. They're still new. They're still young in a lot of spots. They're still new in a lot of spots because of the portal. They're not at the end of the season where they might have some of those things figured out. I like those things about it. It is going to be at the bounce house, as they call it down there in Orlando. But I still think there's a lot of new, and it's going to take some time for that all to kind of set in for UCF. Now, this is definitely a game that I could see Kansas dropping if they don't have all their stuff together. But I do believe UCF is going to be the ninth easiest game, the ninth hardest, whatever you want to call that, the fourth easiest game for sure, and the ninth most difficult game on the schedule at this point in time. Just because once again, they've got a new head coach in Scott Frost. They're trying to change back the offense a little bit. They have to get better. They have to get more talent there. That talent has to gel. There's just a ton of question marks surrounding UCF. We'll see what happens, but that's at number 9. Number 8, going to go with Oklahoma State. Once again, same thing with Kansas State. They're on the same schedule. They're on the schedule for both these teams. The tough thing is, we just don't know enough about Oklahoma State, as I said on Tuesday. We just don't know enough. We do know that they have a really good coach in Mike Gundy. He's considered a great coach, at least in the older era of college football, this new era of portal and things, stuff like that. He's been late to the party. If he does have the guys, can he get them to play together? I don't know. That's the thing about Oklahoma State. You'd think they'd have plenty of money with T. Boone Pickens money and all that oil money. You'd think they would have it. But they didn't last year, and they had some pretty good players like Ollie Gordon. This year, they're starting over with a lot of new pieces, including a new quarterback who's really never taken snaps at the college level. And who knows how that's going to go. It's just so much new, just hard to know, but they do have a good program. And here's the thing. It's at home for Kansas, so it's at the new booth. That's why it's Oklahoma State comes in at number 8. But there are so many question marks surrounding Oklahoma State. They could be really good this year. They could stink it up again. It's just really, really hard to figure that out. Moving to the 7th toughest game on Kansas's schedule this year for football, at Arizona. This game coming, let's see here, in the bottom half, the bottom third, honestly, of the season, third to last game of the year. They're going to Arizona. It's a road trip. You're going to have to play in the desert. I mean, the weather won't be an issue. It should be fine. The thing about Arizona is they have a really good quarterback. I talked about this with Kansas State because they're on the schedule as well for the Wildcats, but as a non-conference game. They have a really talented quarterback in Noah Fafita. He's really good. He's a great thrower of the ball. And they have a coach who believes in throwing the football in Brent Brennan. Last year, it just did not gel. Apparently, the philosophies that were left by Jed Fish trying to put those into Fafita just did, and then Coach Brennan coming in trying to feed those into Fafita could not get those figured out, and they really struggled last year despite having some pretty good pieces at the quarterback spot and the wide receiver spot. So how does it look? Does it look better this year? I would think so. But once again, it's not a game that I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm super, super scared. One positive for Arizona is they do have 9 returners on the defense, but the defense was okay. But you think maybe another year of experience, they might be a little bit better. But at Arizona is number 7 on my Kansas football ranking schedule of toughest game. Number 6 is Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming in at number 6 of the sixth toughest game of the slate this year for Kansas. They have some really nice pieces. They really do. Their quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, is probably considered one of the better quarterbacks in the nation, honestly. Especially a dual threat guy. He can throw it. He can run it really good. He's a big guy, so he loves to he's a physical running quarterback as well. So that's a big thing. They have one of the better tight ends. I think they have first team All Big 12 tight end. And Moyer is his name that he's out there. And then they have the Godfather, which I just love the nickname of Corleone in the middle on the defensive side of the D-line. They've got some really nice pieces, some guys that could be first team All Big 12 type pieces. And they could really score some points this year because they have some of these pieces and they've got some pretty decent experience there at Cincinnati. I was looking that up and they have 15 guys returning combined on both offense and defense. They returned more guys than they lost last year. So they've got some good pieces back. Now, that was a 5-win season last year for Cincinnati, but those pieces are back. I think it's going to be a challenging game, but once again, it is at home for Kansas at the end of September. So once again, you're going to find out, does the new booth bring a little boost to the players, to the fans, to help them get some of these games that could be some toss-ups? I think that's one thing about this, as we sit here right now with what we know about Kansas, what we know about the rest of the league, there's a lot of toss-up games, but there's not a lot of games where like, yeah, you're not going to win that. There's just a lot of toss-up games this year. I think you can go pretty much from, I think Oklahoma State all the way through Cincinnati. There's 3-4 games on this schedule that are toss-ups. If you come and play up to your potential, you could get the win. If you don't, you could lose. Very even match games. I think Cincinnati is one of those games, but I think Kansas at home maybe has a little bit of advantage, even though I think that's a very evenly matched contest. All right, we get into the top 5 toughest games on Kansas's football schedule here in the 2025 season. At number 5, we go to Texas Tech. Once again, as I said on Tuesday, so much returning experience in the land of flying tortillas. 21 returning starters, 10 on offense, 11 on defense. They have a ton of experience back. They had 8 wins last year. They know how to win. They spend tons of money in the portal. They have probably the best portal class in the nation, according to some experts. They have a lot. They have a lot going for them, and it's going to be a lot, and it's on the road in Lubbock, which will be a challenge, particularly if Texas Tech is rolling, and that game is coming up halfway through the season on October 11th. And so that could be a very challenging game there at number 5 for Kansas. We will see. At number 4, Missouri. Missouri was a 10-win team last year, but graduated a lot, particularly on offense. They'll be breaking in a new quarterback, the Pribula kid. He was at Penn State. Remember the story about the Pribula kid? He was at Penn State and had to make a decision whether he wanted to transfer or not, and he decided to transfer out during the CFP when Penn State was playing in it. He decided to transfer out and had to go to Missouri because that was when the portal one was open. So they have the new quarterback, the Pribula guy. He can run a bit. He's a good runner. He's a dual threat guy, but they're breaking him in as a new quarterback. They got a lot of questions on offense. Defense, though, should be pretty good. Defense will be pretty good, and they will have the home field advantage there at Missouri. And it's a challenging place to play. We saw Kansas State a couple of years ago. I don't think it was last. I think it was 2 years ago that K-State went there and lost, on a last-second bomb field goal. It can be a tough place to play, but not impossible. but a challenging place to play at Missouri there. Number 4, my toughest games for Kansas football this year. Now we get into the top 3 toughest games. At number 3, I'm going to put Utah. They were number 1 on Kansas State's schedule, but they're number 3 on Kansas's schedule for a couple of reasons. You get them at home, which helps. And that's probably the biggest reason why it's in this spot, is because it is at home. You're not playing in the Moss in front of that great fan base that they have there in Salt Lake City. But we go back to those points we talked about on Tuesday. New offensive coordinator who brought his quarterback that put up ridiculous numbers there at New Mexico. They have a very experienced and very talented offensive line in front of them. You got to think that's going to result in some sort of success, particularly since he's a running quarterback. If they can make holes for him, there could be some big plays on offense this year for Utah. And then defensively, once again, every year, Utah is in the top 20, top 25 in team and total defense. They will be there again this year. That's what they hang their hat on as a Kyle Whittingham team. They're a great defensive squad. They will be again. It will be a challenge for Kansas to win this game against Utah. And that game coming up at the end of the season. It's the regular season finale on Friday, November 26th. This is a Black Friday game. That will be a challenging game against Utah for Kansas. Number 2, toughest game on the schedule for Kansas is K-State. And not just because I think K-State has the talent to be really good this year, because they do. But when you've lost 16 straight, it's hard to get off that train. It's really hard. K-State holds a mental edge on Kansas at this point in time. There have been some times where Kansas has gotten close, but K-State pulls it out. Happened a couple years ago. But it's actually, if you think about it, it's been the last handful of years. The last 2 years, last year, and then maybe 3 years ago, when those games were really close and just had a chance, but couldn't get it done. I think, once again, K-State's got the advantage because they've got the mental advantage right now. They know they've won 16 straight, and they know what it takes to beat KU. It's going to be very difficult for Kansas to end that streak. No matter when it ends, it's going to be very difficult to do it. That's why K-State comes in number 2. And that's just the mental side. Of course, K-State's got Avery Johnson, who thinks is going to take a big step this year. They've got better weapons on the outside. Defensively, they could be a pretty decent group as well. So K-State, number 2 hardest game for Kansas on the schedule. And the number 1 hardest game is going to be at Iowa State for KU. On the road there at Jack Trice Stadium in Ames makes it very challenging. And they have, once again, as we've talked about before many times, lots of pieces returning off of a double-digit win team. Their quarterback, their top 2 running backs, a majority of the offensive line. They do have to replace a couple wide receivers. Hate to say this, but those guys are kind of dimes a dozen. You can find any of those. There's tons of those guys in the portal. There's tons of those guys coming up. You can find wide receivers. They've got tight ends, they've got linemen, and they have got backs and a quarterback. They've got a great run. They've got a great offense. Defensively, there's a few more question marks for Iowa State in the front 4 a little bit, but their linebacking core is really good. Their secondary is improved. That is going to be a challenging game at Iowa State. But if there is a positive for Kansas, is that Lance Leipold has Matt Campbell's number. Leipold is 3-1 versus Iowa State with 3 upsets in his history there as the head coach. So if there is a chance, Leipold does know how to beat Iowa State. He has the formula to do that. I don't know if it'll happen this year, but he has the formula to do that. So once again, when you look at the schedule, and I was pulling up my Phil Steele magazine that I love to read from time to time. When you look at the schedule, it's very gettable early. You've got Fresno State, then Wagner and Missouri, your first 3 games, then a bye. Get rested up for a big stretch where you have West Virginia, Cincinnati, and then so you get 5 of the first, or your 4 of your first 5 games at home. Your only road game is at Missouri, which is a challenging game, but there is a good chance, and then you go to UCF on October 4th. In the first half of the season, there is a really good chance, if you can play well, you could be 5-1. You could be 5-1 at the October 4th mark. And then after that, you've got 3 more road games at Texas Tech, at Arizona, at Iowa State. 2 of those games are challenging. You've got Kansas State and Utah at home. That's challenging. So the second half of the schedule is very, very difficult. But if you can get momentum going, you could get yourself into bowl eligibility, maybe against Oklahoma State or Arizona, and maybe you steal a couple of those other games, and all of a sudden you're sitting at maybe an 8 to 9 win season if you're able to steal a couple more of those games. Early season momentum will be big for Kansas football here in 2025 because the schedule allows for it. Okay, once again, going through these toughest games, hardest to easiest. I got Wagner at 12, Fresno State 11, West Virginia 10, UCF at 9. You got Oklahoma State at Arizona, Cincinnati 8 through 6. Those are all kind of toss-up games. I think UCF a little bit of that too, but those are 3 big toss-up games that you could win, but you could lose if you don't play your best. And then the top 5, Texas Tech, at Missouri, Utah at home, number 3, Kansas State at home, number 2, and at Iowa State, the toughest game on the schedule for the Kansas Jayhawks. There you go. Ranking Kansas's schedule from toughest to easiest. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Brian Haney is going to join the program next, the radio play-by-play voice of the Kansas Jayhawks. You're listening to the Morning Blitz.
Need a porta potty or septic pumping in Northwest Kansas? Call Topside Portables and Pumping, your local family-owned crew. They've got clean, reliable toilets for weddings, farms, and job sites, plus full septic services, RV waste, fertilizer tanks, and more. Available 24/7, because when nature calls, they answer. Call 785-728-8089. That's 728-8089. Topside Portables and Pumping. Reliable, local, clean.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Tyler Ghosh with the Andersons in Overland Park, Kansas, with your morning market update. It is Thursday, August 21st. Overnight sessions have commodity sets open higher. September corn is up 2 3/4 at 382 3/4. The December is up 2 3/4 at 406 3/4. And the March is up 2.5 cents at 424 1/2. Beans on the SEP are up 3 3/4 at 1018 3/4. The Nova is up 3.5 at 1039 1/2. And January is up 3 1/4 at 1058 1/2. Kansas City wheat on the SEP is up 4 1/4 at 505. The Dees is up 4.5 at 527 3/4. And the March is up 3 3/4 at 545 3/4. Chicago wheat on the SEP is up 4.5 cents at 510. The Dees is up 4.5 cents at 532 3/4. And the March is up 4 1/4 at 550 3/4. S&P 500 is down 25 points at 6,387. The Dow is down 177 points at 44,818. NASDAQ down 98 points at 23,226. Crude oil is up 21 cents a barrel at $62.92. Gold is down $5 an ounce at $3,383, and silver is up 17 cents an ounce at $37.94. If you have any cash grain you'd like to move or want to learn more about our freedom pricing tools, reach out and give us a call. You can reach myself, Tyler Ghosh, Shared Law, or John Silvito at 913-748-3000. If you're out in Colorado, get John Hankey or John Stiles a call at 970-744-4480.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Farmers and ranchers, are you looking to sell your equipment at auction for 0 fees and 0 commissions? Well, then you need to check out Hayden Outdoors' new online equipment auction platform. You can list your equipment in our monthly online auctions using our easy-to-use platform, and you don't pay any fees or commissions. Visit HaydenOutdoors.com to learn more. That's HaydenOutdoors.com.
Hey Max, you look sharp in that purple tie. Ready to harness the world as a guide dog?
You bet, Daisy. And your purple service dog vest really pops against your shiny fur.
First day on the job for both of us. We've got this, right?
You bet. Dogs Inc. trained us well.
Ready to make a difference for our humans?
Born ready.
Discover how extraordinary guide and service dogs change lives at no cost to the recipients. Visit dogsinc.org.
You're listening to the Morning Blitz
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
with Ross Volkmer.
Of course, another reminder, lots of stuff to kind of wrap up the summer as we get back into the swing of school. The back-to-school bash here in Goodland happening on Friday at Stever Park. Free park and play concert. Got the cornhole tournament for the Goodland Cowboy basketball team. You want to get a hold of Coach Raymer if you want to be a part of that. Also, customer appreciation barbecue from the city of Goodland. So lots of fun happening with the back-to-school bash here in Goodland. Of course, the Sunflower Festival happening over in Colby Friday night and Saturday. Lots of fun there. You can text the word sunflower to our text line for more information or to see a schedule with that. And, of course, don't forget you can continue to play the Rock the Block promotion through the end of the month. Still got about 10 more days to get into that and a chance to win a slew of great prizes from a lot of our great sponsors of our Rock the Block promotion this summer. All right, it's time to continue our conversation about Kansas football. And yesterday I was able to be joined by Brian Haney to talk about the upcoming season for the 2025 Kansas Jayhawk football team.
Please be joined on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline by our good friend from KU Athletics, the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, Brian Haney. Kind of spent some time with us here as we get set to open up the Kansas football season this coming Saturday as the Jayhawks welcome in Fresno State. Brian, thank you so much for making some time with us, my friend. I know it's a very busy week, particularly with the new stadium opening up and all that fun stuff, so thank you.
Well, great to be on with you, Ross. We appreciate the chance to beat the drum of all the good things that's going on around Kansas athletics right now, particularly with Jayhawk football. So thank you for the platform.
I'll tell you what, it sure seems like this year, Brian, I don't know about you, but it's been a pretty newsy summer in Lawrence. Lots of different things, whether it's basketball coaching, assistant changes and adding there, or football stadiums, or, $300 million donations. It's been a very busy summer there in Lawrence.
It has, no doubt. And obviously the headline around all that is the unveiling of phase one of the reimagined and transformational David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium. But to your point, it was a summer that started a little bit later because baseball went farther than they'd gone in the last decade plus, making an NCAA regional. Then, of course, basketball, as you mentioned, with a couple of departures and retirements and a couple of additions coming in, including Jacques Vaughn, which on June 3rd, he was announced and introduced in his return, a Kansas All-American and Jersey retiree, and a guy who's been a NBA head coach in Brooklyn and Orlando and brings that NBA pedigree on top of his love for this place. But even Tony Bland yesterday, another coaching announcement that's happened. So it's been certainly a busy summer on other fronts, but to be honest, really ever since the first week in July when we went down to Dallas for Big 12 Football Media Day, and then fall camp starting a week earlier because of the Week 0 game, we've really been in football mode for the better part of 6 weeks at this point. So can't wait to kick it off on Saturday night, and so much to break down and anticipate with this really special group on a absolutely historic day at David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium.
We will get to the team here in just a minute. Brian Haney, our guest. I want to talk more about the new and reimagined booth, as they like to call it in short terms. What are your thoughts of it, and how excited are you to see the fans file into that place for the first time here in a couple days?
Well, it's something truly to behold, and I think the honest answer is it's kind of surreal. Setting foot in there, growing up, going to KU games, and we love the old Kansas Memorial Stadium long before it was the David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium. It's such a picturesque backdrop at the base of Mount Oriab with the Campanile up on the top of the hill and the Kansas Union and all the tailgating that goes on. And yet the venue, clearly at 104 years of age, was past its prime. And as Coach Leipold has alluded to, and Travis Godfrey emphasized to the media earlier this week, we had great memories there, but this was a project that they wanted to be working on for quite some time. And previous ADs had tried to launch the funding and the plans for such sweeping changes, but it required consistent and sustained success on the field and continuity atop the program to truly get all of the donors on board and all of the campus leadership aligned in how we were going to pull this thing off. And so tip of the cap to Travis Goff's visionary leadership and the way he worked in concert with one of the most sports savvy and sports friendly chancellors in America in Doug Gerard. We're so lucky to have those two working as closely in concert as they do. And then obviously Coach Leipold's been a 10 out of 10 with the success and the consistency he's brought into Kansas over his first 4 seasons, the excitement that he's helped, rejuvenate and invigorate amongst our fan base. And so it's been really cool to see those 3 men at the forefront of this project. And then obviously David Booth steps in with a gift that is, as far as we can tell, the greatest in collegiate athletics history to propel this thing even closer to the finish line. So phase 1 is complete, $448 million going into phase 1. Phase 2 still to come, which will include the east side stands, an entertainment district, hotel, additional parking, all kinds of vendor setup outside the stadium in this Gateway District project. But we are just over the moon, excited and grateful for the way this has come together and all that have had a hand in making it possible.
I've saw some photos of your broadcast booth. I got to ask, broadcaster to broadcaster, how do you like your spot there at the new booth? It's kind of in the corner for those who don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be different, no doubt. And yet there are certain advantages that I think come with that in terms of seeing a kick return open up or a deep pass pattern where that unique angle will allow you perspective that looking at it from the side view, you would not be able to normally see. And so we're looking forward to that. And I would tell you this, we're way, way closer to the field than we've ever been before and where we'd ever be at any other Big 12 stadium. I think a lot of these other big venues, you're not only high, but you're back out from the field. And the previous Kansas Memorial Stadium had a track in it for many, many decades, and you were so far removed from the action. Now you're right on top of it. And so when they're coming into that north end zone, we'll have the best view of anybody on did he get his toes down in the back of the end zone and that kind of thing. So I hear where you're coming from. It's definitely going to be a different angle and something to adjust to, but we're really excited about some of the new advantages it'll bring and very grateful to have such a beautiful venue to call the games in.
Absolutely. Brian Haney is our guest here on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline, joining us here on the Morning Blitz. What are your thoughts on this team? You've had some chances to probably watch them in practice and get a feel for them. How much of an improvement do you feel like we could see, especially compared to last year going into this 2025 season?
Well, I would tell you this, like if you're tuning into the game, whether it's on radio, TV, or showing up, bring your roster with you, because even the head coach joked on Monday he still has to carry one out of practice because you got 50 newcomers on this team. In this day and age, you can have that many. It's not just about bringing in 25 freshmen. You've got all the transfer additions and additional walk-ons and all that. And so we said goodbye to 37 seniors, many of which were household names. We say hello to even more newcomers. And it's impressive to think that guys like Justice Finkley from Texas can step in and already be voted a captain on this team. He's been such an immediate leader out the gates. That a guy like Bengali Kamara can step in, a guy that's been several places, including Pittsburgh, and a guy that many feel is our most talented linebacker since the Orange Bowl team. Many have said he's a future all Big 12 guy. He right away is a plug-and-play legitimate star on this team. Leroy Harris out of Chattanooga. His father played 7 years in the NFL. He's the guy that they initially recruited to be more of a depth piece in his first year and maybe start to break out in year 2. He's had a phenomenal camp and provides a ton of athleticism in rushing the passer off the edge. Alex Bray, who comes in from Illinois. I mean, the list goes on and on. Lyric Rawls from Oklahoma State in the secondary. So there's a lot of immediate impact transfer pieces that we're really, really excited about. Trey Lathan at linebackers, another one from West Virginia. If you remember that name, he had 10 tackles against KU a year ago, and the Mountaineers win and come from behind fashion. So he's a big-time talent, too. And I think that the easy answer to your question is, yes, we lost a lot, but I think we replaced those departures with even more. I think Kansas is more talented. I think Kansas is deeper. I think there are concerns when you've got a couple of underclassmen corners replacing Kobe and Mello, sure. But the talent of guys like Austin Alexander and Jalen Todd could be every bit as good, if not more so. They just don't have the experience. So there will be some growing pains, I'm sure, when you're mixing in this many new pieces. But the player development has been outstanding amongst the returning players. And then the caliber of immediate impact transfers is far greater than what I think we've expected over the last 10, 15 years. And obviously transfers have been more and more prevalent the last 5 years, but I feel like Rob Ianello and Lance Leipold really outdid themselves with this group. And that's just talking about defensive guys. I mean, real quickly, Emmanuel Henderson on the offensive side of the ball is a receiver that will wear the number 1. He comes from Alabama. He's the fastest vertical threat that Jalen Daniels will have to throw to in all 6 of his Kansas seasons. I think he's the most explosive downfield receiver I've seen in the last 20 years of KU football. That's not to put too much on him. I'm just saying he's a burner and he can make plays. LeSean Williams is a running back from Iowa that will step in and help handle the load with Daniel Highshaw. Highshaw is still the lead back, but I kind of see it as a 1A, 1B situation. We'll see how it plays out. Cam Pickett at receiver is kind of a slot guy that takes over for the Luke Grimm role. Levi Wentz will be a great red zone target as well. Helps with the departure of Lawrence Arnold to graduation. And so there's a lot of guys we're really, really pumped up about. And then a name that might sound familiar, like you've heard it before, but it's been a while. Deshaun Hanukkah was a standout at Iowa State. He transferred here over a year ago, but had a season-ending injury prior to the start of last year. He's now getting set for his lone Kansas season at tight end. I think he could be a really impactful player along with names like Brune, Grun, and Cure in a tight end group that is as versatile and dynamic as I can recall seeing. So a lot of new faces, a lot of new names to learn, but can you tell we're pretty bullish about their chances this year? It's a really gifted group.
Brian Haney continue to be our guest here on the Morning Blitz, joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline, play-by-play voice of the Kansas Jayhawks and the Jayhawk Sports Radio Network. I wanted to go more on the offense with Zabrowski and then Lubick coming back. Do you think this offense is going to find their groove, kind of like they had with Colton Necky a little bit a few years ago?
I do, and you know that's not to undersell the contributions of Jeff Grimes from a year ago, but they were a lot more run heavy with a senior to feature like Devin Neal and a lot of that work that just took a while to click. And it wasn't until midseason to where Jalen really settled in, shook off the rust and was the version of him that we know he can be. Now he's got a play caller that's been his position coach for the last 4 years. And this will be his 5th year as his QB coach mentor. Now the play caller, Jim Zabrowski, and obviously Matt Lubick, a guy that's overcome, battled, and beaten cancer to keep coaching throughout, first as an offensive analyst, but now as a co-OC. What a successful, and tremendously inspiring stories his is. I think the creativity will be a little more noticeable. Not to say they weren't creative last year, but I think that you go back to some of the play calling we saw in the bowl game when Zabrowski was the play caller after Kotelnicki left for Penn State. And yeah, they were slinging it all over the yard. And some of the formations, the pre-snap stuff, all that was really something to behold. And so I don't think it mirrors it identically, but I think you get back to some of those creative wrinkles. Hanukkah, the tight end, described it as a really complex offense, not in an overwhelming way to learn, but in a very imposing way to defend. And so I think there's a lot to be excited about there. So, yeah, I asked Jim yesterday, Jim Zabrowski, do you have something really special up your sleeve for game one, whether it's right out the gates or at some point? I mean, new season, new role for him, new stadium. Is there going to be some kind of big-time trickeration play? And he looked at me and he says, well, what do you describe as trickeration? And he wouldn't reveal his cards. But my point is, I think you're onto something in saying, do they open it up a little more? Do they take the lid off a little more? Sure, possible. We'll see what happens on Saturday night. But I, for one, had a blast calling the 6 passing touchdowns Jason Bean had the last time Zabrowski was a play caller. And I got a feeling Jalen Daniels is going to have a lot of fun in the season ahead.
Speaking of JD, and I thought it was funny in our conversation, he said the fastest wide receiver he's had in 6 years. So to hear that coming from a college quarterback just makes me chuckle a little bit there. But this is year number 6 for Jalen Daniels. How do you think he puts a cap on this career? How do you think he heads out?
Well, time will only tell on that because you got to have good fortune with health, and obviously the ball's got to bounce your way. But I would tell you this, he's done everything he could do to put himself in position to have an outstanding swan song here. And the best quote of the preseason to me from anybody was said by Lance Leipold and then echoed by Matt Gildersleeve, that this has been a different version of Jalen since January. And, it wasn't meant to be critical at all to say that he used to be this really bouncy around, happy-go-lucky, free spirit kind of guy Monday through Friday, and then he'd lock in on Saturday. That's just the way it was, and people love that infectious energy. It's contagious. But this version of him, going back to January, has treated every day like game day. Coach Leipold said the other day he gets to the facility at 5 a.m. Kanika said he treats every day like the Super Bowl. That's the type of locked-in mentality he has. Now, that doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees himself the best level of preparedness and readiness he's ever had. I think he's got more explosive weapons to throw to than he's ever had. I think the offensive line, though they lost a couple of pieces to graduation in the NFL, I think it's still stout. And to me, Calvin Clements is a future pro at left tackle. Bryce Foster is a future pro at center. There's a lot to like here. So my money's on Jalen to have the greatest season of his Kansas career if he can stay on the field. And last year, he proved a lot of those doubters wrong with a healthy season all the way through. And so we're knocking on wood and hoping that's the case this year, but expecting a much, much, much faster start because he's had just an outstanding camp, an outstanding offseason, and is looking at this as his last chance not only to carve out his KU legacy, but to show those scouts at the next level that he's somebody worth banking on to play on Sundays.
Brian Haney, once again, our guest, play-by-play voice of the Kansas Jayhawks. What do you think about this schedule? This schedule sets up pretty well, at least on paper here early on. I know things can change throughout the course of a season with how teams kind of come together or fall apart, but this schedule looks to be pretty gettable from a Jayhawk fan perspective.
Yeah, I think that you got to make hay at the start, and it gets seemingly on paper really tough in the second half, but let's be clear. How many years have we looked at a schedule in July or August and said, oh, look at these landmines in October, November, and it proves to be just the opposite. Look at those midsummer Big 12 coaches polls and then laugh at them 6 months later when the dust settles on the final standings. It's amazing how often we're way, way off. And so on paper, it would appear that when you get to the second half of the schedule, and you've got, Texas Tech, K-State, Arizona, Utah, Iowa State in Ames, games like that, they do look daunting. The start of it looks a little more inviting, and yet Mizzou is a team that will host Kansas in Columbia in week 3. That will be a heavy favorite from the SEC in that one, and a rivalry game that I think we have to re-educate younger generations of just how important this game actually is and how special this rivalry once was, the history behind it, all of that. That's a really, really good non-conference game. Fresno State, though they have a new coaching staff with Matt Ince coming on, that's a proud program that's seemingly in the bowl season almost every year of late, and he had an outstanding run, including 2 national championships at North Dakota State, did Ince. And so that's a tough one, man. And yet I hear where you're coming from. It's navigable beyond that if you look at the first 3 Big 12 opponents compared to the last 6. So you add that up and let's just shoot straight. You'd like to get to the midway point. It's 5-1 if you could, and be 1 win shy of bowl eligibility and right in the teeth of the Big 12 race at that point. But I think 4-2 is also reasonable and puts you on a path to accomplish a lot of your same goals as well. But clearly, the obvious elephant in the room from a year ago was this team did not start fast, and as a result, missed out on bowl eligibility for the first time in 3 years, despite a November to remember with 3 consecutive top 25 wins. Got to have a faster start this year. And I think based on everything I told you on the awesome offseason that Jalen Daniels had and the great camp that so many of these veterans have had, we have every reason to believe this club will start much, much faster here in 2025.
One more for you here before we let you go. What if there's one thing that you could point to that this season could kind of hinge on, what do you think it might be?
Great question. I actually think as much as we've sung the praises of Daniels and the offense and as exciting as they're going to be, as I look at this team right now, man, I think they can be so disruptive defensively. And so if those young corners grow up like we hope they will, baptism by fire, this is the most imposing front four, front six, because they're going to play a lot of 4-2-5. But here's where I'm coming from. Their D-line is the best I've seen at Kansas since Mangino's peak, and maybe more athletic. Their linebackers are as athletic as any I've seen since Mangino's peak. And I really like our secondary. We're just young in some spots. So to me, I think you might look at the defense as the strength of this team, and that's saying something because the offense could average 30 a game. But the key to the whole thing is keeping Daniels healthy, him having the season he wants to have, but then, having a defense that can set the tone and be disruptive and honestly take over games. Because for how many years, even in our successful years, did we just ask the defense to do just enough, buy time for the high-flying Kansas offense to get theirs and outscore a team and win 38-28 or 38-34 or something like that? Man, I don't know. I all this could go up in smoke in 3 weeks once they have to, play a real opponent in their house and we see what they look like against an SEC team. But seeing them practice against each other, I'm really excited about our defense. I think our defense could be a headline-generating storyline all year long. And Kansas could beat some teams in all phases pretty emphatically if they're as good as we think they can be. But again, it's got to stay healthy. It's got to click. It's got to all come together. Those are a lot of ifs and buts right there. But I think you hear some guarded excitement and optimism in my voice there, because this group looks different than a lot of Kansas teams. And by different, I mean way better.
It's as hard as it's ever been to kind of look at a season and think, well, how could it turn out with so many different factors, whether it's new additions, subtractions, health, schedule. It's very difficult, but we look forward to seeing how it all plays out. Radio voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, that's Brian Haney. Brian, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. We'll catch up as the season gets rolling, my friend.
Appreciate you, brother. Always a pleasure, Ross. Have a good one.
Once again, great stuff there from Brian Haney. We'll take a quick break, come back, and wrap the show with the walk-off. That's next.
This summer, NWKS Radio is bringing the party to you with Rock the Block. You could win the ultimate backyard prize pack, a big dog cooler, lounge chairs, a 4-piece patio set, an $8,000 hot tub from Paradise Spas, plus installation credit from Lore Electric. We're crashing your neighborhood with giveaways, games, and special surprises all summer long. Enter now at nwksradio.net and let's rock the block. Powered by NWKS Radio and your favorite local sponsors.
Summer's ending, school's here, and Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland has the trucks to keep you moving. A 2025 Sierra 3500 Pro, $1,000 purchase allowance or 3.9% for 48 months. A 3500 Denali, $2,000 purchase allowance or 3.9%. Or Sierra 1500 over a $6,000 purchase allowance or 0% APR for 36 months. Make this school year the smoothest ride yet. Visit Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, or shop online anytime at hurlchev.com.
When fraud strikes, every second counts. At FNB Bank, we take your security seriously. Our local team monitors for suspicious activity and responds fast, so small issues don't turn into bigger problems. I'm Jessica Von Little at FNB Bank. We are your first line of defense, protecting you, your money, and your peace of mind. FNB Bank, local, trusted, here for you. Member FDIC.
And back lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off Grady? Thomas to the 10. Difference going on in New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes swings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Very active trading going on in the NFL yesterday. Kansas City sending Sky Moore to San Francisco, who has got an absolutely depleted wide receiver. I think they've got 4 or 5 guys that are out for an extended period of time. So Sky Moore is going to get some chances to play there in San Francisco, where he just never came to what I think they hoped he would be at Kansas City. 43 receptions, did have a touchdown, though, in the Super Bowl. Denver is sending Devon Bailey to New Orleans. New Orleans got a bunch of mini-me's running out there, the itty-bitty wide receiver committee over there in New Orleans. Well, Bailey's going to help change that with his 6'5" frame. Remember the catch he had on the batted ball that ricocheted around? Probably the highlight of Devon Bailey's Broncos career. So those two guys are on the move. I did see Harrison Phillips, defensive tackle for the Vikings, is going to the Jets. So there's some trading going on here early on in the NFL, not even in the preseason, honestly. And yesterday, anybody remember I was talking about the Rockies and how Austin Gomber got shelled? He dropped to like 0-7 on the year. His ERA is just out of this world. And I said on there, I thought, I'm just surprised that he's still a Rocky. Well, yesterday he was let go. Austin Gomber was waived by the Rockies. And to an extent, like I said, I'm kind of surprised it hadn't happened already. But Austin Gomber, no longer a Colorado Rocky. We'll see if he gets somewhere else and can figure himself out, because it's been a very tough career for Austin Gomber, who was a pretty good college pitcher, if I remember correctly. Just has not found it in the pros. All right, that does it for our Thursday show. We'll be back again tomorrow on a Friday to wrap up the week, and we'll get to talk some football with predictions for the season for Kansas and Kansas State. We'll do that and so much more. So make sure you join us for a Football Friday, the first one of 2025. That'll be tomorrow on the Blitz. See you then.
Classic rock plays here. This is Rock